Jefferson County, western Columbus County, until 1 p.m. At 12:05 p.m., National Weather Service Doppler radar indicated a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado near Britton Neck, or about 14 miles northwest of Conway, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. Some locations in the warning include Galavant's Ferry, Gapway, Mullins, Greensea, Cherry Grove, Clarendon. Get under a table or other piece of sturdy furniture. Seek shelter on the lowest floor of the building in an interior hallway or room such as a closet. Use blankets or pillows to cover your body, and always stay away from windows. If in mobile homes or vehicles, evacuate them and get inside a substantial shelter. If no shelter is available, lie flat in the nearest ditch or other low spot and cover your head with your hands. A tornado watch remains in effect until 9 p.m. Saturday evening for southeast North Carolina and northeast South Carolina.
My name is Angela Honeycutt. I was affected by the April 16, 2011 tornadoes in Benson, North Carolina. I've put together a video to tell my story of what I never thought could have happened to me on that day. In the video right now, we're coming up on my neighbor's house. It's a big white house with a pool out back. A lot of the whole backside of her house was almost like chopped off. And then you'll notice a lot of trees down, things all scattered out in the field. That's pretty much pieces of my house. There's my first driveway, and you'll notice a brick foundation. That was right there. That's all that's left. That's all that was left of my house. They have a big tractor out there already starting cleanup, and video was taken on Sunday. And it's going to go across the road, and you'll notice a mobile home completely flipped upside down. Thank goodness no one was home there. And you can see trees down and roofs and everything just completely destroyed. It was April 16th, 2011, and it was really a pretty day. It was slightly windy, and I had heard of threats of the tornadoes coming, on the news and on the radio, but I didn't think anything of it because you just never think things can happen to you like that. The night before, I had actually went to Raleigh to meet some friends for dinner. And instead of driving back home that night, I drove all the way to Linden, which is near Fayetteville, to stay with my boyfriend. So the Saturday morning, I woke up, and my boyfriend Grant and his best friend John decided to go to a big truck show in Rockingham, North Carolina. So they were gone all day, and I was at the house by myself. I was cleaning, and I cooked, and I watched TV, and the wind started picking up. I called Grant, told him the electricity kept going on and off, and he lives in an older model single-wide trailer, so now knowing what had happened, I can't believe that I never felt the trailer move. I heard the wind gust, but I told him multiple times to hurry up and get home, and he did. I tried turning the TV back on to check the weather when the electricity came on, but then it went off for one final time that day. Grant got back home, and John, his best friend, kept checking his phone and telling us about the tornado threats, and his sister called and said for us to stay put because there was a tornado spotted in Linden, just a few miles from where we were. As serious as it is, again, I never really got scared. I never thought about going to the bathtub or hiding under, not hiding, but getting down under heavy furniture. The thought never once crossed my mind. And we just sat around in the living room and talked and joked about everything in life, going on. And then my cell phone rang. When I answered my cell phone, it was my daddy. And before I go through this phone call, I want to say I relive this phone call almost on a daily basis still. I hope I never have to endure another phone call like this. But I picked up the phone and I said, "Hello?" and my dad was on the other end screaming. I've never, ever heard his voice, and he just kept like that. He kept saying, Angela, Angela, help me, baby, help me. And I immediately, the only thing I could think was, something's wrong. Let's go. I got to get to my daddy. So I immediately waved my arms in the air, motioned for Grant and John to get in the truck, to let's go. And they knew from the look on my face something was wrong. And I said, Daddy, what's wrong? What's wrong? And all he could say to me was, tornado, tornado, I'm trapped in the barn. I can't feel my legs. And then the phone call dropped. I was hysterical. By that time, I was jumping in John's truck, and I had left so fast, I hadn't even put on my shoes. So I was barefoot. I was screaming at the top of my lungs, my daddy's going to die, my daddy's going to die, hurry, hurry. We kept trying to call back, could not get through, there was nothing. Kept trying to call 911, you couldn't get through, all the cell phone towers were just completely gone. And all I could think was just to somehow get help. Grant and John and myself, we all had our phones constantly trying to call. And all I knew that he was trapped in the barn. And that's as much as I knew. But I knew by the sound of his voice, it was not good. Little did I know at the time that there was nothing left in my house. My dad didn't know that at the time. And that everything would be gone. And like I said, he didn't know that at the time because he was inside the barn. When we got to the end of Grant's driveway, which he lives down a long dirt path, when we got to the end of his driveway, we took a right, and literally right in front of us, half of a mile from where I was sitting in the trailer house alone, an entire mile wide of houses, buildings, animals. There was a horse missing its whole entire side. Belongings had been completely destroyed. We then took a left at the intersection, and there were trees down. There was fire trucks, ambulances, and all I could think was, I need to get to my daddy. My daddy is dying. My daddy is dying. I need to get to my daddy. John put on his flashers. We were riding his truck and slowed down and told the emergency workers what we were trying to do and get to him, and thankfully they let us through. While the process of calling on the phone, we finally got through to Cumberland County 911 and asked for them to transfer us to Johnson County, and again the phone call kept dropping. Eventually we got through to Johnson County, and they sent first responders, or as fast as they could, they were going to get first responders out there. Normally a trip from Linden to Benson takes about 30 minutes. This particular trip took an hour and a half. It was the longest trip to Benson from Linden in my life. We passed the Food Line Warehouse in Dunn, and I was just speechless. I didn't know what to think, and all I could think was, my daddy's dying, my daddy's dying. Because all I could remember was his voice on the phone. We continued to try calling Daddy, and I'd never heard his voice like that, and I kept hearing, Angela, help me, baby, help me. That's all I could hear going through my head. Finally, Grant got through on his phone, and EMS picked up. They said that Daddy was in the ambulance, and they were unsure of his condition, but had to get off the phone. And I grabbed the phone from Grant, and I begged to speak to my daddy. I said, Daddy, love you, love you, love you. And that's all I could think to say was, I love you, and I'll be with you soon as I can get there. He said, I love you too, find the dogs, find the dogs. I couldn't think at that moment why he would say find the dogs, because in my head I'm thinking, well, the dogs are in the house. And I said, aren't the dogs in the house? And he said, I don't know, just find the dogs. So we have two Boston Terriers, one named Fred and one named Wilma. And they were just our babies around the home. Wilma was Daddy's little baby, so he was really concerned about the dogs. Since I knew my daddy was safe, I called my mother. My mom had taken a weekend trip to see my grandparents that lived at Sneed's Ferry down at the beach. I was hysterical. I was crying. Mama couldn't understand me. My grandmother would call back. She couldn't understand me. I had to let Grant speak to her, and I finally got through to my mother and had kind of calmed down to the point where she could understand what I was saying. Down the road from where my house was, there was a sharp curve, and when you come around this curve, you can see my house. That day, on April 16th, I came around the curve. I was on the phone with my mom, and I was telling her that I was going to get the two dogs, I was going to take them with me, go to the emergency room, and then Grant would carry the dogs to his house. When we came around the curve, I didn't have my glasses on, and I squinted because I was pretty sure I didn't see the building, it hadn't registered in my mind that if Daddy was trapped in the building, that the building wouldn't be standing. It was just so much going on, it hadn't registered. And I said, Grant, I don't see the barn. I don't see the barn. And my mom said, what? On the phone? And Grant looked at me and said, Angela, baby, your house is gone. All I could say was, Mama, Mama, Mama. That's all I could say on the phone. I got out of the truck barefooted. I was soaked from head to toe because of the rain that I had run into to get to the truck. I ran, and I was screaming. I remember passing cars. I ran about 3/4 of a mile. I was passing cars with people sitting in line, and all I could scream was, my house is gone, my house is gone, my house is gone. And all I could see was emergency lights because we lived across from a car lot, and the cars were just scattered everywhere, upside down wreckers and trucks and big tractor trailer rims and tires and just all kinds of debris everywhere. And I just ran, and all I could do when I got to that property was sit in the middle of the field while the rain started coming down again and say, where is my house?